Shadow of the Colossus turns 13 years old this year. It's gone through revisions before, like an HD remaster on the PS3 from Bluepoint Games, but now we have a fully done remake by the same studio. Despite having played every previous version of Shadow of the Colossus, the remake on PS4 feels absolutely new and contends to be one of the best looking console games of 2018. Shadow of the Colossus has you play as a young man named Wander who's trying to resurrect a girl named Mono. We don't really know a lot of details about her other than she's a young maiden that's been sacrificed for having some sort of curse. Now Wander, equipped with his trusty horse steed, Agro, traveled to a forbidden land filled with caves, deserts, old ruins, and lakes in hopes of saving Mono. In this land, Wander meets an entity named Dormund. Dormund tells him that the only way to bring back Mono and break the law of the mortals is to take down the 7 colossi wandering throughout this forbidden land. The story is very symbolic and open to interpretation where more specific details about characters and the backdrop are missing. Whatever Mono is to this young man, you just know that he loves her and is willing to do anything and everything to save her. I enjoyed the story back when I played it in 2005 for the PS2, 2011 for the PS3, and just as much now on the PS4. If you played Shadow of the Colossus on PS2 or PS3 before, PS4's gameplay will feel very much the same. The major revisions to this game in this remake are of course the visuals, which we'll dive into in a little bit, but also the controls. Bluepoint has redone the controls for Shadow of the Colossus, making it feel much more streamlined and new player friendly. As someone that played the previous versions of the game, I actually really like this new control scheme, but the classic option is still available. The new control scheme maps the map button over to the touchpad, jump to X, and dodge roll is now the circle button. It definitely feels less cumbersome than having to press R1 and triangle together. In addition to the controller changes, a new Last Guardian themed Easter egg was added, just as a little nod to the rest of the series. Other than that, Shadow of the Colossus feels very similar to its previous iterations. You control the young man in this vast open world filled with different terrains and old ruins. With the help of your horse, you ride across the plain searching for the 16 colossi you have to slay. Your sacred sword shines a bright light in the sky that points you towards the direction of your next colossi. If you've never played the game before, you won't know what to expect, what the next colossi will look like. All you have is your general route direction and your will to bring back Mono. In that sense, the gameplay is very simple and hands-off in terms of holding your hand. I think that in part lends to the greatness of exploring this really huge and mostly empty world. You're but a speck in it that's about to take on these larger-than-life creatures. As for combat, each colossi battle is a puzzle. Not every colossi is built the same, and so taking them down is different every time. Well, the process is. For just about every colossi, your goal is to just get on top of it and aim for its weak spots until its health reaches 0. Getting on top of the colossi though is the puzzle every time. Sometimes it'll be as straightforward as just climbing on the colossi until you reach its weak spot. Other times you have to lure them into a certain position or hit them in a certain way to the point where they position themselves in a climbable stance. Every battle felt unique and colossal in size, literally. There's always that moment of brief intimidation before the courage and curiosity kicks in as you survey your best approach to take down the beast. This remake doesn't fix all of the original game's issues though. Much like The Last Guardian, when you have a small character interact with a larger character, you can run into some camera issues. When trying to climb a Colossus, if it's constantly moving around, you'll have those moments where the camera just fights against you as you try to climb up. It can be a bit cumbersome. Aside from the main story, all the extra game content from the previous versions of the game are here along with the upgrades they bring. You can compete in the time attack mode, for example, to unlock new weapons and cosmetics for your horse. However, most of the gameplay is very much the same, and it stands strong 13 years later. Shadow of the Colossus isn't just a better looking version of the original, it's been completely remade from the ground up. While the PS3 remaster upgraded the resolution and the frame rate, the PS4 remake has Bluepoint rebuilding the game's every model, texture, and graphic. The end result is beautiful, not just a great remake but one of the best looking games of this console generation. Players will have 2 options in terms of display modes when playing the game, a cinematic and performance mode. On PS4 Pro, cinematic mode locks the frame rate over to 30 frames per second at an extremely sharp 4K resolution. Things like the fur on colossi and the foliage in the plains stand out in this higher resolution. The tiny little stitches sewn onto your clothes to the crevices on the walls of the old ruins are clearly seen. Performance mode on the other hand pushes the game to a solid 60 frames per second at a lower resolution. While less sharp, this mode really helps moments where you're riding your horse through the plains or when you're climbing a colossus. The fluid motion of the horse running, along with seeing your character being swayed constantly while climbing a colossus, looks really great in this higher frame rate. It really did put me at a standstill where I kept switching between the 2 different display modes throughout my first playthrough. If you're playing this on a PS4, you still get a beautiful looking game, albeit at a lower resolution and frame rate. 1080p 30. Gamers with an HDR TV will be able to take advantage of the technology, finally being able to truly appreciate the bloom lighting that this game is so well known for. In addition to the performance upgrades, you get a few extra features with the visuals in this remake. You can now apply filters over the game to change up the look of each of your playthroughs. PlayStation staple photo mode that can be found in most of its current first-party games like The Last of Us, Uncharted 4, and Horizon Zero Dawn finds its way here too. The original Shadow of the Colossus was well known for its marvelous music that truly gave some of the cinematic set pieces in the game some emotion. The composer for the original, Ko Otani, returns for this remake, revamping a lot of the older tracks with some new flair. These new versions really help build the sense of scale and wonder in the game that truly hit home during those big Colossi fights. They have a melancholy feel where they feel like you've accomplished something while losing something in the process, and that truly fits the message and scope of Shadow of the Colossus. It puts the ever so slight grin on this emotional sad boy's face. Boko wa kanashi shonen desu. Shadow of the Colossus still stands the test of time even almost 13 years later on the PS4. Its gameplay is as magnificent now as it was back then, and somehow even though this is my third playthrough of the game, it still feels completely new. That's in part to the new controls, but mostly the absurdly great job Bluepoint has done recreating the game from scratch. Cinematic cutscenes and heart-wrenching moments feel just as impactful as ever in these new visuals, and the revamped songs are the icing on the cake. Sure, some of the camera issues are still present, which are just unavoidable hurdles at this point when pairing a small creature with a large one, but they're small and dismissible blemishes. Shadow of the Colossus is a magical, breathtaking game that deserves to be played. If you've never played a version of it before, now is the time to do so, and if you played it before, I think you'll be surprised with just how new this game can feel to you. That does it for my review of Shadow of the Colossus for the PS4. If you have any questions about the game or the review, feel free to ask me in the comment section down below, or you can hit me up on Twitter, Snapchat, or Discord. Those links are in the description down below. If you enjoyed the review, then let me know by dropping a like down below and subscribe for more reviews just like this on PS4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC. As always, thank you all very much for watching, hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you all in the next one.